because we are also seeing gold make news highs, even on the spot market. They always refer to it as gold. Well, this is gold, physical, in my possession. This is gold. But the spot market, that's just a contract.
He was known as a big ESG guy, right? And then he openly abandoned the ESG terminology and straight up said that climate finance, green finance, all of that stuff he's involved in is about profits, not about wokeness or saving the planet or whatever. And since then has also 180'd his stance on Bitcoin and has essentially changed a lot of his talking points, which I think is very notable.
Are you tired of feeling like just another pawn in the game of Wall Street's elite? Lynette Zhang and Whitney Webb will share their insights about modern finance with us. During this presentation, Zhang exposes the risks ignored by the public by questioning institutional investors' motives. Meanwhile, Webb reveals Wall Street's cutthroat tactics as exemplified by figures like Larry Fink, whose principles appear to shift from time to time. As Bitcoin soars and physical assets beckon, we examine how profit and morality intersect in the modern financial landscape. Come along for a ride into wealth, power, and the pursuit of financial freedom. Don't miss out and stay connected.
And now, after their accounting firm advised them of material weaknesses and internal control over financial reporting, they were dismissed. How much confidence do you have in banking? Do you really think that they're okay? Look at this stock. Look at the share prices. You've got volatility going down here, right? But look at the share price. That's the volatility. This is the volatility of the share price. This is where you see, and here's a little gap there, but this is where you see that trading activity. Again, I ask, when do you want to liquidate this position? And do you even know if you're holding this position? If you're holding ETFs or you're holding mutual funds or other managed products, Wall Street products, are you really familiar with what those holdings are? And do you really think that those institutional investors that invest your money, you're the one that's taking the risks, not them? They're making the fees. Do you really think that they have your best interest at heart? Or do they have Wall Street's best interest at heart? Because this is how they frequently do transition that wealth. And it's not unique for them to do that. So there's 623, 266. Now it's at a penny a share. What would you rather have? Volatility is going insane here. Risk transfer equals wealth transfer. The few, those that are in the know, understand the risks and they are getting out. The public has no clue about this. This is not over yet. Make no mistake about it.
My policy tends to be don't trust Wall Street giants because they become that powerful on Wall Street because they, are pretty cutthroat and criminal because that's how you rise to the top of that particular sphere. Just look at how Larry Fink has been behaving over the past 2-ish years. He was known as a big ESG guy, right? And then he openly abandoned the ESG terminology and straight up said that climate finance, green finance, all of that stuff he's involved in is about profits, not about wokeness or saving the planet or whatever. And since then has also 180'd his stance on Bitcoin and has essentially changed a lot of his talking points, which I think is very notable. The first time I really wrote meaningfully about Larry Fink was probably a few years ago in relations to the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, where Larry Fink is a principal. It's like a UN sponsored organization that was co-founded by Mark Carney, former head of the Bank of England and later Bank of Canada, former Goldman Sachs. And also Mike Bloomberg is a big figure there, the former mayor of New York and a well-known billionaire who, started off at Salomon Brothers. So these are essentially bankers developing what amounts to a major component of UN-sponsored policy directly related to their climate change policies. And basically what GFANZ proposes is creating a new financial governance system, seizing what they call the new Bretton Woods moment. Basically, recreating the global financial system and also reimagining the multilateral development banks, like the World Bank, the IMF, et cetera, which came out of actual Bretton Woods, right? So they want to move all of that into a new paradigm. Larry Fink's been particularly vocal about that. And what GFANZ proposes specifically is merging the members of GFANZ with the multilateral development banks as a way to basically use the same debt slavery model that the MDBs have been criticized for using. But instead of using it to further U.S. empire or the dollar and things of that nature, it's instead the proposal is to use it to create better enabling environments in countries for the green investments of these large financial institutions and asset managers. So it's basically like perpetuating the same model of the MDBs, but having basically Wall Street run it under the guise that it's a planetary necessity and that we can't get to net zero without this, which frankly, if you look into the explanations for that, there's no way that's the case. But that's, how I first started writing about Larry Fink was because of his involvement in this relatively open plan to create a new financial system, which, among other things, doesn't just rest on the MDBs, but also on the development of global carbon markets, which comes up in this particular piece in a pretty meaningful way.
Because we are also seeing gold make new highs, even on the spot market. They always refer to it as gold. Well, this is gold, physical, in my possession. This is gold. But the spot market, that's just a contract. And not only that, but as it happens today, you see Bitcoin, which has been touted as a gold alternative, that's a risk-on trade, making new highs at the same time you're seeing spot gold make new highs. It's a little interesting because Bitcoin is a risk-on trade and speculation, and physical gold is a flight to safety. What's happening here? What does this really tell you that's happening here? Because what you're looking at are the 10-year Treasury yield versus spot gold. And you can see how they move in opposite directions. But make no mistake, you want to get into a position to have the wealth shift your way. How do you do that? You position into the physical market. You properly diversify your portfolio so that if you're choosing to hold any other cryptocurrency or any fiat money product, you have undervalued wealth to recoup those losses and to put you into a position to take advantage and have the wealth transfer your way. Make no mistake about it, because if you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Enter into and sort of impose upon us these new systems, which includes, some of these forms of digital control, like the CBDC and their private sector equivalents, for example, programmable surveillable money, and tied into the digital ID thing. All of this, as is noted in the article, is meant to interface with global carbon markets and the multilateral development banks that Fink has been targeting in particular through GFANZ and also BlackRock itself has been pretty focused on them. They're seeking to, the World Bank is developing climate wallet functionality and a lot of this other infrastructure on which global carbon markets would rely, and are also attempting to become the main data storage for the digital ID system as well. So a lot of big moves are being made through these institutions for part of this new global financial governance system, as GFANZ calls it. Larry Fink, among other things, is on the board of trustees of the World Economic Forum. And I think the World Economic Forum is misunderstood by a lot of people, and people use certain terms to refer to what they are and what they do. But ultimately, what that group is about advancing the public-private partnership model. And of course, there's two sides to that, much like there is in the prevailing left-right paradigm of most countries' politics. And, for a long time, they've leaned sort of on the public side and used talking points that are meant to appeal to the political left. And have gotten a lot of pushback as a result. And so if you notice, people like Fink, but other people as well, have moved their rhetoric away from those seeking to appeal to the political left in the public side of the public-private partnership, leaning into the private aspect of the public-private partnership and having more right-leaning talking points. But ultimately, all are trying to lead you to the same exact system of digital ID, programmable surveillable money, and global carbon markets. And I think, the carbon market in particular, it's sort of hard to extricate that from the climate change, situation. But I think it looks like, people like Fink and some of the people in that particular space are going to attempt to market it as something that can make people very wealthy or allow them to get quick access to capital by tokenizing their land holdings and like fractionalizing their private property, using different things that haven't been able to be financialized before, and then bringing that on chain and using that as collateral, receiving loans that way, and all of that. There's a lot of ambitious plans in that particular space. And aside from that, there's been this push led by the Rockefeller Foundation and some other groups through this whole push for natural asset corporations, where they basically openly talk about the idea to expand the amount of assets in the existing financial system by like 5 or 6 fold by incorporating what they refer to as natural assets. So this is sort of like the financializing of the natural world and turning, allowing people to sell ecosystem services and all of that. And, this is part of the broader effort to usher in a global carbon market. So anyway, I think it's interesting that there's a lot of this shift going on. I think it's a big part of why someone like Javier Milei was given the main stage at WEF and then openly praised by the WEF, that he was the WEF elites that he was supposedly scolding in that speech. They very much embraced, Milei's vision, and we're like, yeah, we should have the private sector lead the public-private partnerships and all of that. But ultimately, the public and the private, as represented within the WEF, agree about the plan. Maybe there's, how it's implemented or how it's sold to people. There's differences there, but ultimately they agree about where we're going in terms of like digital ID, a global ledger and all of this stuff, programmable surveillable money, whether it's private sector issued or central bank issued, ultimately the end results are somewhat the same, but there's an effort to sort of change the sales pitch. I just want to sort of underscore the idea that there's a historical precedent, specifically in the US, for when they attempt to pitch a particular policy or create a particular entity. If it gets pushed back as being openly part of the government, they privatize it and then no one complains. People, think because of the rhetoric that, this is, everything's being handed back to the free market. But these companies, Palantir being an example, that was set up with state involvement, CIA involvement. Right. So it's not really the free market. It's cronyism. It's crony capitalism. It's cartelism. And so with someone like Milei being like, yeah, I'm going to hand stuff off to the private sector, it's not like it's going to the Argentine private sector. It's going to foreign members of a global banking cartel that includes some of the biggest institutions on Wall Street that have a verifiable documented history of corruption.
We hope these insights have armed you with the tools to navigate the complex world of investing. Share your newfound knowledge, empower others, and continue seeking truth in all your financial endeavors. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on the latest discussions. Until next time, remember, the quest for financial freedom is ongoing. Keep exploring, keep learning, and may your investments yield prosperity. Farewell for now.